I will address you by your first names, Bobby and Tim. Is that all right with you?
Correct.
Again, I'm John Paris. I'm the chair of the Asian American Group's Endorsement Committee. Appreciate you taking time off of this, this glorious Saturday morning to come down and interview with us for this is the sheriff's race that both of you are running for. And again, thank you very much for taking time out of your busy campaign schedule. We know there's a lot of events going on today and every day from now until the election ends. So thank you again. Just a little bit about us. I know, Bobby, I've seen you at our events over the years.
For years and years and years.
And Tim, you're relatively new to the political scene.
Second time running.
Okay. Regarding the Asian American Group, we're more or less an umbrella organization of numerous different Asian groups throughout the Valley. As you may know, there are 250,000 Asian Americans, self-identified Asian Americans living in the greater Las Vegas area. And it's our goal to kind of give some sort of a unified group, just a unified presence or voice to many disparate cultures and peoples. What we do for the endorsement process is this. After we have the endorsement interviews today, then we'll have a makeup day sometime next week. We believe it's going to be on Thursday. We'll send out our endorsements for the primary. We'll do this again subsequently for the general. In addition to informing the individuals that we have endorsed, Bob Smith for this particular race, we also print up slate cards and get space donated to us in various Asian periodicals where we list out all the individuals who we are endorsing for the various races. And those are left throughout the Valley at restaurants and Asian businesses, things of that nature. We also have email lists in excess of several thousand, and we email that same slate card out to those individuals, trying to get more people to come out to vote in the primaries. Since it's an off-cycle year, it's very difficult for people just to motivate to participate in the political process in general, and it's even less compelling in a primary, despite the importance this kind of a race has. So, after we've introduced ourselves to you, what we would like is maybe a short 90-second introduction for each of you to us. And I'm going to start with Tim because I will start with the person on my left-hand side. So
alphabetically, it works also.
That works too. So briefly, we know we have some background that you're currently a bail bondsman. But why have you decided to run for this particular race at this particular time?
Well, it just goes back to how corrupt Metro is. I was a victim of Metro, nothing compared to a lot of the victims and families that have lost their loved ones to Metro's shooting. Since the 41 years that Metro's been intact, they've killed over 800 people, and something's got to be done because nothing has been done. So I'm taking a hardline approach. I'm not a politician. I'm just going in there, cleaning house. There's going to be a lot of police officers go to jail or go to prison. A lot of police officers may even end up on death row. And it's time. People have shed enough tears. It's time to get angry and do something about it. My background, besides being a bail bondsman, I was a military cop and criminal investigator for almost 10 years. I was a basic patrol officer to watch commander. I was a narcotics operative for NCIS, and I was on the presidential protection team for President Reagan in Quantico. I've been through 2 police academies. I've had a lot of training from the FBI Academy station in Quantico. But like I said, I've been a bondsman for the last 17 years here in the city, so I've seen both sides of the criminal justice system. And Metro is corrupt. In 2010, I ran against Sheriff Gillespie, who him and I had a long history. He framed me on a murder for hire gig back in 2006 because I tried to expose the district attorney, David Rogers, for taking a law payoff. In 2010, when I ran against him, my bail bond office on Main Street was mysteriously set afire. Metro's ruthless. They've become a corrupt criminal organization, and it's time to clean house.
Bobby.
Good morning. First of all, thank you. I really appreciate you all doing this. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. And it's nice to see any community get engaged in the process. That's important to me. All right. You pretty much know my background, and I'll just highlight a little later, okay? First of all, right now, I'm a 40-year resident of this county. I've been married 37 years. I have 2 children that are here. One's an attorney, and one works at the Metropolitan Police Department for 23 years now. Actually, she works in the sheriff's office. She's a civilian employee. I'm very blessed with that, and I have several grandchildren that live here. Why I'm running for sheriff is, I believe, the question you want to answer. Okay, so why I'm running for sheriff is, I've heard in the last couple of years, I'm a private investigator right now, I have my own business, and my office is down at Rancho in Alta. And there's a lot of activity with police down there, traffic and things like that. And several officers stopped in my office and talked to me. And I've heard a lot of rumors about Metro in the last few years. And I just said, well, I love Metro, I've been on Metro a long time, and I love Metro, but I don't know, rumors are rumors. I heard rumors about myself, okay? They're just rumors that are proven. So when Doug Gillespie decided not to run back in September, my first phone call was to Doug Gillespie to tell him that I was running. I have a history with Doug. I was his first training officer, first cop he ever rode with. That don't make me good or bad for one or the other. He was on the street, he made through training, fine, no problem. I'm still a friend of his, I can't say I'm not. I will not do that. I'll talk about issues, not people. The thing is, heard all these rumors about Metro. I told him I was going to run. I just wanted him to know that I was, because I know they already have a plan in place. There's no doubt in my mind. And then the second person I called was my daughter, because she works for the sheriff's office, and in his office, and I sure didn't want to affect her job. And she said, Dad, you've never disappointed me in all these years. And she's 42 years old, so she said, you never disappointed me all these years. Whatever you have to do, you have to do. I'm sure I'll be fine. And I keep her out of the whole process, okay? There's no need for her to be involved. All right, so then the third one I called was the real boss, my wife. And I told her, Kathy was...
Does she know you called her third? Because that could be a problem.
She knows now.
Yeah.
She knows now. She knows why. I mean, it was all out of respect in the right way. I love and respect my wife, but it was for the right reasons. I didn't want to make these decisions, take it home, and I already have problems at other places. That didn't work. So I put a sign out that said, what can Metro do better? These were big A-frames. They were out throughout the valley. Call or text this number. Since the signs went out in October, since October, we received over 600 calls or texts on this sign. Out of all of them, I've only had 5 that were nasty calls, okay, what we call real jerky calls. And I had consultants and other people say, why would you ever put a sign out like that? That's silly, because you're going to get all the jerky calls. It didn't happen. So over 600 calls later, I got things such as Metro's elitist. I mean, just put your fingers on the pulse of what's happening. Metro's elitist. Metro's got attitude problems. Metro don't care about us. Metro don't call us back. Metro don't believe in service. I had a Afghanistan veteran who said to me, I had 3 tours in Afghanistan, and this call came about 3 weeks ago, and he says, I come back home here, and I look and I see Metro has all these SUV cars now with badges bigger than the cars. He said, I feel like I'm in a military occupation. Wow, didn't ever look at it that way, but that's what he felt. That's pretty interesting feedback that you get. Had another one, just real quick, I'm going to break these stories real fast. 80-year-old lady who calls, she got her car broken into over at Lake Mead in Buffalo, 8 o'clock in the morning. 80-year-old lady, 8 o'clock in the morning, I don't know why, but okay. She calls the police, and the only thing was taken was her registration and her insurance. She says, I need the police to come and take a report, so we don't respond on that. Okay, so she calls her daughter. She's 80 years old, she calls her daughter. Daughter's in the 50s, daughter's the one who called me. And the daughter says, after she got there, she says, she called the police. She said, you got to respond out here for this here. And they said, we don't respond to that. She said, well, okay, but I'm going to follow my mother home. They have my mother's address. I would like to send a police car out there before we get there to see if anybody's there. When you get there, and if there's somebody in your house, call us. That is bad service, okay?
Well, that actually dovetails into one of the questions we have. Metro obviously is having difficulty, budgetary. Everyone's overworked and underpaid, and we get that. But their recent policy shift to not respond to routine traffic accidents is causing a lot of disfavor amongst the public, because that's one of the main ways that Metro, quote unquote, protects the average citizen. assuming you're elected, and I'm sorry to cut you off, I'll let you finish with that, but just it does dovetail nicely. Do you plan on continuing with that policy should you be elected sheriff?
Absolutely not. And that's so easy to answer, okay? And there's also a very better plan than that. First of all, if their numbers and everything else are correct, all right, that they say we don't have the manpower and it takes this much time, it takes this much away, and they should have put a prototype out first. Right here on Sahara, we have 3 of the worst intersections in Nevada, okay? Decatur in Sahara, Rainbow in Sahara, and I believe Valley View in Sahara might be the other one. Most accidents. I'm talking about fatalities, I'm talking about most accidents, okay? Right there. So that Sahara belongs to an area command. Rather than broad brushing the entire county with this policy, if they want to prove their numbers, let's put it out there. In that area command only, put a prototype out, say we're going to do this for 90 days and see what happens. And we'll do different enforcement in that area, we'll do this, we'll do, and we won't respond in this area command. That's in regular, not only on Sahara, that's anywhere is in that area command. And we'll see how that goes, how it's with the public, how it's with us, what it does with our numbers. Because Metro is all about statistics instead of reality. And statistics, well, you can do whatever you want with them. So my idea would have been very simple. You put a prototype out, if that's what you need, that's what your numbers tell you, in 90 days you would find out. In 30 days, Metro found out they made a big mistake. But they're not backing off. Okay?
And Bobby, Tim, same question to you. Would you keep that policy in place, or how would you modify it? Since there has been a great deal of backlash. Well, I got to keep things balanced.
Well, I mean, it was ludicrous for them to stop responding because, I mean, mad mothers are up through the roof over this, and it's justifiably because the average citizen doesn't know how, or doesn't have the training to determine whether a person is intoxicated or not. And that's the biggest problem. So this whole idea of stopping to respond has deadly ramifications. A drunk could end up, after you pass each other your ID, go to take off from the scene and end up killing somebody because they're under the influence. And that's a deadly ramification that, I'm sorry, but Sheriff Gillespie has to have been just stupid to even come up with it without thinking of those problems. I mean, that's common sense. And no, everything's going to go back to normal. I mean, the problem is a lot of things that people don't understand is that this isn't the first time they're doing this. I had my bail bond office burglarized. Instead of a police officer coming to my office, there was an intern that came to my office. This young kid, it was like, are you even out of high school? And then, I tell him, he comes in, he's looking around. I says, why don't you call CSI to dust my safe and stuff, get some prints off that. He goes, oh, no problem. I just passed a course this last week, And he pulls out his fingerprint gear and puts so much fingerprint dust on that. I'm thinking, this is an idiot, So this has been going on. I mean, we are not getting officers to respond. And I mean, these specialized units like the motors unit and everything like that. And I know, Bobby G, you were on motors, right? So, okay.
Not that nuts.
Yeah. But, these motor cops and stuff, they don't respond to regular calls. They just deal with traffic. And if we consolidate a lot of the different units in Metro, instead of having them all separated, we can be more efficient and have the manpower. It's just like every Marine is a rifleman, every cop is a traffic cop, and we don't need these specialized units, motors units and stuff doing just traffic. Everybody should be on the ball. That would supply more people to the road.
Okay. Bobby, I did cut you off. Modifications. Give you a chance.
Okay, I'll be real quick. I'm sorry. Once I get going.
Again, I know, and that's the difficulty in my position.
Cut me off.
I got to
Don't
keep
worry
things
about it.
balanced.
Okay, on the modifications, very simple, and I think it's a little disingenuous about calling these kids whatever. Okay, they really help out a lot. This is the cadet program. The cadet program is very well vetted. They go through an academy, a modified academy, and they wear uniforms. They have cars, and they're trained fairly well. Of course, at 18 and your first time, it's like a brand new cop. You learn as you're going anyhow. but they are there from 18 to 21, which gives you a chance. It's like a farm team, gives you a chance to vet your people real quick. We can put 100, they can go on felony calls, felony burglary calls. They sure to hell can respond to a traffic accident and help out. And some lady said to me, well, Bobby, why would you want a 19-year-old kid respond? What if there's a drunk on the scene? They have immediate communications to the police department, right from their car. So, and they're trained well enough to understand what's danger and what isn't danger. I'd have to trust them. There's a point where, you know, there's always, even if new cops are like that. We could put 100 cadets on a road for the cost of 30 cops. About 3 to 1. At least they could help with traffic accidents. And when I was in Baltimore, when you were assigned to a beat, that was your beat. Everything happened on that beat was yours. Only fatalities were handled by traffic. Everything else, the burglaries, the traffic accidents, anything. When I worked this area out at the station right down the road, I was a sergeant out here, I would handle traffic accidents. It takes you about 20 minutes at the most to handle a minor traffic accident, writing a citation or two, because it takes about anywhere from 10 to 12 minutes to write a citation. So there's a lot of things that I believe can be happened here in a much easier way. We put cops on the street, and I totally agree with him. There's a lot of condensing that can happen.
If I may just add something to that, I'm sorry, I don't feel comfortable having some Cub Scout sitting there doing my burglary investigation, especially when during that burglary there were firearms that were stolen. It's just, you know, it's ludicrous, you know, and, you know, it's not protecting the public.
Well, regarding protecting the public, there have been a lot of initiatives in other cities. Baltimore has implemented on a small scale this initiative, but Philadelphia had a lot of success with it. Basically just putting boots on the streets. And they did that to focus on lower income areas, and they found that violent crime rates, as well as petty burglaries and thefts, things like that, property crimes, went down significantly. Assuming you're elected sheriff, would you have plans to implement similar policies here in order to help out the citizens of Las Vegas, as opposed to just protecting the strip itself?
Yeah, if you look at the brochures that I brought with you on some of the agendas, the major one is to input permanent foot patrol beats within the high crime areas. New York's been doing it for over 200 years, starting with the night watch. And we have the best weather here. There's no reason why they can't get their fat keisters out of their cars and walk a beat. And talk about the best intel you're ever going to get is from a beat cop.
I was a brand new cop in Baltimore, because I did 5 years in Baltimore and 24 years here. We had to walk foot patrol for 2 years before you ever saw a car.
Mandatory?
Yeah, before you even saw a car. And that's not a bad thing. Now, it's a difference between a city and our open spaces that we have. There's a big difference in that. However, you could take Manhattan itself in New York. They have almost 2 cops on every corner or every other corner. They're in full uniform, dressed and everything. One's a real cop and one's a volunteer. It's really amazing how they do it, but you don't know which is which. It's just like we can get out of a patrol car, a kid that looks like he's 20 years old and somebody that looks like me, and the kid at 20 years old might have 10 years on, I might only have 1 year on. It's you don't know. A cop's a cop's a cop. But Manhattan has one of the lowest crime and one of the highest tourist places there are. One of the lowest crime rates. There is a way to handle this. There's a way to make this a lot cheaper. We had a sheriff's Jeep posse that did other things, but we can make things like that happen. There's no doubt.
Okay. Well, we are right at our time amount. So
You started late.
I know, and we're going to finish on time.
I have a question.
Please, go ahead, Kate.
So
Yes,
know,
please.
we all have budget constraints, and you know, Metro has forever been saying that, you know, they were cut off by the council, et cetera, et cetera. So do you think that a cadet academy alternative is a good one? Do you think that that's where it's going to go eventually? Since you say for one cop's pay, you can have 30 or 20 of these.
3 to 1, I believe it was.
3
Is
to
what
1, yeah.
Bobby had referenced.
Okay.
You talking to me?
Yes.
Well, you'll
For
both have a
both
chance
of
to
you, for
answer,
both of you.
obviously.
No, don't misconstrue it. I don't think the cadets are the everything, true all to everything. That's not what I'm saying.
So how would you get more cops, real cops in our street?
Okay, first of all, we'd have to have real numbers for our budget. Okay, Metro's, in the last 3.5 years, They've put out one academy only, 38 people, and I don't know if 38 graduated in 3.5 years, all right? Metro loses between 30 and 60 officers a year. That's from retirement, being fired, or death. I mean, or just moving, okay? People moving away. That means we lost a lot of officers. When you go to the county and the city fathers and ask for money, or to the voters and ask for tax money, you should go with real numbers, not fuzzy numbers. And when you go up there, you can't say, these 144 positions for the last 3 years, which are funded for the last 3 years, but they're vacant, but we're saying we need them funded, because every year we count them as being a real position. Well, that's 3 years worth of 100 to 144 different positions. The money's there if we do it right. The money's there if we stop paying that ludicrous money out. We don't have a real voice or a real face of Metro, not really. We have a PIO position alone that costs us almost $2 million a year for 16 people. The PIO is Public Information Officer. But there's things we could change. I'm going to give him a chance because I know you're in a hurry, so. And he knows I'll keep talking.
We do too.
John.
The Detroit Police Department has twice as many officers as we do, and their budget is $100 million less. So you have to ask yourself, can they do it and we don't? The majority of the $500 million budget is salaries and pensions. My thing is that I'm going to eliminate the ranks of deputy chief and above. There's no reason why a captain can't handle the duties as being performed by those upper echelon people. Also, we're going to reduce the salary down to the national average. Now that's going to be a fight, but I could give a damn about the police union. And because a New York cop starts out at $32,000 a year, Metro cop starts out at $52,000 a year. So you have to ask yourself, the cost of living or the crime rate is more over here, so why are we paying them more? We have to instill in the officer that, and get back the officer with the personality that they're there to join the police department, not to get rich, but to be a public servant. Metro has forgotten about how to be a public servant. You know, this partnership with the community motto is ridiculous. We work for the public. They are our boss. And it's time to change the attitude.
Perfect.
The budget is $750 million. That's
Our Metro budget is how much?
It's
$750 million.
512 million
No,
this last
750 out in the jail. Yeah,
Oh, you call it
count
the jail, okay, yeah.
Count the jail, and it's $750 million a year.
It's ridiculous.
Which means it costs us over $2 million a day in taxes. That's a lot of money. Now, we can't compare with Detroit or other places. Clark County is as large as the state of New Jersey. Let's be realistic. We have to have mountain training, we have to have swift water training, we have to have all kinds of different training in all the places that we police in this county. From Sandy Valley to Moapa to Bunkerville. There's a lot of things that happen. So you have to compare apples with apples, not any other way. And that's just the real stuff about it. The pay is all set. If you set it with like communities in the western United States, rather than the central or eastern United States, you see difference. And the economies were different at the time.
LAPD's paid less than we are.
No, they aren't. But anyway, that's it. I'm not going to keep on the same questions.
Gentlemen?
Isn't that accident policy patterned after California?
But again, after LA and after San Francisco, we can't compare with them. We have over 40 million tourists a year. One out of every 12 cars that go up and down Spring Mountain on any one of our roads is a tourist. You can drive in our own streets and get lost because each street changes names about every 10 blocks. You know, you don't know where you're at, okay? And so you have a lot of looky-loos and got.
Yeah, I mean, it's just no comparison.
Gentlemen, thank you again for coming down. As you can see, we have some more candidates coming in, and we do have a makeup day later this week. We know early voting starts very, very soon, and we plan on having, knock on wood, by the end of next weekend. I don't know what date that would be.
Next weekend's 24th, 25th. Early voting starts the 24th.
Yeah, we're hopeful that we can get the endorsements out before the kickoff for early voting, and then send out mass emails and start spamming everyone with that information. Working with a tight time frame here, so we're going to do our best, but we will certainly notify you as well as the public at large once we do make our decision.
One last thing I just want to mention
Yes,
is
Ted.
that as far as the other candidates, as far as the Asian community, No one's closer than me. I lived in Japan for 4.5 years. And I taught karate on base. And, nobody's in our politics ever asked me what my religion is, but I'm Buddhist. And, it's, I left a good part of me in Japan. But I also gained too.
Thank you again, gentlemen.